Testing, testy, test. Oh, hey, finally. Sorry about that, folks. Damn it. Everything been going so well. All right, let's make sure you can see me and hear me, and make sure I can see you in the chat. Tim from Northeast Victoria, my home neck of the woods, Beechworth. G'day, Welton. Here we are. Look at all of you coming in to watch to see if I can do this. Oh, that's funny. Very good. Testing, 1, 2, test. Very good, Scott. Well, that would have been a shock for you. Scott. Don't worry, I will prove all. I'm very excited. The response for the first two of these has been great. This is the last one, so we can make this. My Supreme cap is my new Supreme cap is bending up there. There we are. Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Hello. Fantastic. Yes, it was it. Don't worry, Scott. Don't worry. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so that'll be good. Fantastic. Welcome, everybody. This is so important that I've actually, look at this, for those of you, and I can see there's a few old friends in the thing. I've actually got, look at this, notes. Notes. Would you believe? Notes. For this. I know. Shocking. Right? And we've even got somebody from Tasmania. I don't think, did any New Zealanders sneak in? I did try to ban them, but hopefully we managed to keep them out. But with any luck, we can get going. So let's do this thing. So let's get to, here we are. Let's show this, get the slide up. Just making sure, somebody from New Zealand did sneak in. Oh, God damn it, geo-blocking. Just can't keep them out. Shocking. All right, folks, can you see the, just let me know you can see the slide presentation. Just let me know you can see 68 hours, the fastest way to build a business. Make sure this is working, and then we'll, yes, excellent. Very good. Thank you, gang. Okay, let's do this. All right. First of all, you've already let me know where you're from, which is great. You've anticipated where I am going. And I did want to know where you're all from, but I also did want to remind you, make sure you got pen and paper. We've got some really big insights to discuss with you today. The name of the presentation is 68 hours, and we'll come back to why I believe that is so important, and to see where we're at, because this last 30 days, literally this last 30 days, it's just past 8 p.m. November 15 there in the eastern part of the United States. And as some of you know, I've been on this crazy 30-day challenge where I had to build a business, start from scratch, and do all of these things. And that's fantastic. And spoiler alert, by the way, as of just before this broadcast, I'm up to $9,800 and something dollars, and I need to make 10. So I'm pretty darn excited, and we've still got a little bit of time. So that was awesome, but that's not the point. It's what I learnt while doing this, and the profound differences that it has made and changed in me in the way I'm going to go approach things forward, including things such as understanding the true nature of the customer problem paradox, some really interesting insights into Instagram, which I want to present to you, and perhaps most controversially, and we'll get to it first, is why I think 30-day challenges actually don't work and are a bad idea. And as you'll discover very shortly, of course, there are many of you who are new on this webinar. Welcome. And I should have said my name is Ed Dale. You've come here from Instagram, and bless you for that. And but you know, I made my name, some would say my career, out of doing 30-day challenges, helping people build businesses. So what the heck is going on? I will explain. Okay. Now, make sure too that you have the you know where the chat window is, because you may have gone to webinars where you can sort of kick back, you can surf the internet and do other things and do all that sort of stuff. That's not my thing. If I wanted that to happen, I would have done a video or a podcast about this. This will require audience participation. And we'll be using the chat extensively to get feedback. And I think it's important for you to see you're not alone with your strange ideas. It's not just you. It's you and just a couple of other people. But you are not the only one who is strange. So there we have it. I know it's quite cold in the northern part of the world, but it's actually getting darn warm in here. I'm going to turn that air conditioner on because it is getting warm in here. And that's because we've got hot ideas. Now, in true quick start fashion, I finished this slide presentation, and I'm not kidding. This is no joke. I finished this slide presentation 4 minutes before I had to present the the first webinar, which was very, 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 very early morning. In November 15th, those of you in the United States. It was last night for people in Oz. And so would it be useful for you, just let me know in the chat, for you to get a copy of the slide. Just let me know in the chat if that would be useful for you. Good on you, Welton. You're going to look at some of this and go, why everybody is weird compared to me. Oh, fantastic. Great. All of a sudden the jukebox started, it's like a slot machine going off. Fantastic. Well, anybody who said yes, it is now your job and responsibility to remind me, so don't let me forget, right, before the end of the thing, so I can send it out to everybody. All right? So don't let me forget. All right? Good stuff. Now, a couple of little warnings. Jokes. For those of you who are new to the Ed Dale experience, for what it's worth, please understand that I can't help myself. I do make jokes. And also, I tend to use a form of humor which is not well recognized in the United States, which is #sarcasm. So please be aware of that. And for a lot of you, maybe 15%, maybe 60% of you will not find my jokes at all funny. Please just ignore that part and stick around for the actual information. The information will be worth putting up with my slightly 12-year-old sense of humor. So just a little warning with that. Hope you're okay. Now, one of the worst things that can happen in a webinar, and if you've been on a few webinars, is that you sign up to learn something, and what you basically get presented is 40 minutes of pitching something to buy. You're not going to be disappointed. I am going to sell something. At the end of this presentation, after I've done all the teaching, I'm going to spend 5 minutes showing a faster way to achieve all of the results that I'm going to show you and do that. You'll still be able to do it yourself, but I just want to show you a faster way to do it. But I just wanted to make sure that was okay. I wanted to say it right up front, because there's nothing worse than you're sitting there thinking, oh, is he trying to sell me something here? Am I only getting half the information? All those sorts of things. So please let me know. The Kiwis do know all about sarcasm. You're absolutely true. Is that okay? Can I just get your permission to do that at the end after the training? I'll let you know. I won't try to sneak it. I just think it's better, much better, to be upfront about it. Excellent. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's get into this sucker. All right. So, why am I here? Why did I send out such controversial emails? Right? Why did I do such a thing? Well, here's the thing. Okay. So, we've been having a lot of fun, and I recognize a few people who are on this last webinar. We've been having a lot of fun in our Facebook group this year. And what we've been doing is we haven't been doing a challenge. We haven't been building we haven't been doing a traditional challenge. I should rewind. I'm Ed Dale. My claim to fame is that over the last 13 years, I have been doing the 30-day challenge, and the whole thing that started back in 2005 was to take 30 days to start a business and make your first dollar. Right? That was the whole box and dice. Yet, like Mark Antony at Caesar's funeral, I am not here to praise Caesar. I am here to bury him. Who thought we'd get this cultural this early? So you're getting, historical training as well as all this other stuff as well. It's so useful. I made my name. I've taught and had the privilege of teaching some of the biggest names in the industry, got their start doing this 30-day challenge. It's the thing that I'm known for, and I can tell you right now, I will never, ever, ever do one again. 2 reasons. 1, they don't work. 2, there's a way better approach. And it took me to do a 30-day challenge to realize this. So here's what happened. So we had some fun in our group. And Russell Brunson, by the way, somebody who also got their start, you can read about me and Frank Kern in his books, where he credits us with helping him get started in his online journey, called me up and said, hey, I'm doing a 30-day challenge thing. I said, that's awesome. Sounds fantastic. And he did an amazing job, brilliant job. He created an entire book. And what he did, and I thought this was so clever, he went to his most successful students and he said, right, you've got no money, you've got no list, you've got nothing, right? And you've got 30 days to rebuild your business. What would you do? And he put out a big, thick book with these 30 plans. And I thought, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Maybe it was the cocaine. I don't know. But I said to my good old Facebook group, I said, I'll tell you what, Facebook group, let's see if old Ed has still got it in him. And I'm going to do one of these plans, right? I'm going to do one of these plans. But to make it interesting and to show that it's not a setup, guess what? You guys vote on it. So I had to do this plan that I had no control over, right? That was voted on by my dear members of the challenge Facebook group. And I got this challenge. So, and this particular challenge was all about using Instagram, which is sort of by the point in some ways, although I'm so glad I got to try out and learn about Instagram, and I want to present some findings to you in this training as well. But here's the deal, right? I wasn't allowed to use my list. I wasn't allowed to use my money. I effectively had to metaphorically pretend I was bankrupt. Right? That was the effective thing. I had to start completely from scratch. I couldn't do JVs. I couldn't do any of those things. I had to start from scratch. So on October 15, 30-ish days ago, I started exactly that journey. And here we are, November 15. And if you can read up the very top of, come back, plan. You read up the very top, hang on, play. As I switch back, note to self, can't do that. At the very top of my board, I had $10,000 by November 15th. That was the challenge, because for no other reason that the plan that the gang voted for was indeed a plan that was designed to create $10,000 using just Instagram. So that was the challenge that was laid out. And what was one other thing to make this story really important. At the same time I was doing this, many of those people from the challenge group actually signed on to do an actual 30-day challenge with Russell and his team. And by all accounts, an amazingly produced, beautiful training, lots of amazing information, lots of support, all this stuff. It was awesome. Okay. And yeah, here's the thing, right? What's this 30-day problem that I'm talking about? And it's this issue where, I do this effectively full time. I work 9 to 5 doing this. My day job is coaching in the academy. That's what I do as a day job, helping people with their businesses. That's what I do. And so for me to do a challenge, I still had to keep up with I had coaching commitments, which I still had to keep up with, and I had training commitments that I had to keep up with. But I had a pretty free run, right, the rest of the time, right, which was very good. Okay, now let's have a look at you guys for a second. Okay, this is where audience participation time. Let's have a look at the next 30 days. And I know most of you, there are mostly Aussies and people from the United States, and even some New Zealanders that snuck in. How's your next 30 days looking? Do you have plenty of time to build a full-time business? Let's say, have you got lots of obligations? You might want to type obligations in the chat if you have. Or if you're free and easy, let me know if you're free and easy, okay? I'm going to take a glass of water while you let me know in the chat window whether you are free. I would say holidays is an obligation. By the way, obligation to have a rest. Obligations, busy, obligations and then some, freer than last 6 months, but still obligations, a little bit of both, multiple obligations, bit of both. This was sort of a trick question because I know for those of you in America, you've got Thanksgiving next week. So there's no way you've got a free run. And for all of us in Australia and New Zealand, our end of school run. So we have an interminable number of orchestra concerts and singing concerts and plays and end of school stuff. And then there's all our Christmas parties and all of that stuff, right? Lots of stuff. So Al's free. Well done, Al. Bless you. But I hope you noticed that. I hope you noticed that the vast majority of you, obligations. We're not blessed these social media influencer millennials who, live at home with their parents, except when they're photoing themselves in rented Lamborghinis and models, that have the time to do this. Most of us have serious obligations. All right, that's just a reality, and that's nothing in a sense of news. But here's the thing: as I was, it's funny because I've always been in the 30-day challenge, right? I've always been teaching it, so I've been getting people on board and getting people. People were always successful with it, but not the vast majority. And so being able to observe somebody else do the challenge and then also do my own, I realized that you get in this, what happens? There's this cycle. You start to get, you start off and with all good intentions and everything's fantastic, and you start doing that. Then something happens. You get sick, or you've got to pick up the kids from school, and you miss a session. You think, oh, okay, I'm not panicking. I'll catch that up. I'll catch up on the weekend, or however you do it. And then we're getting further, and you're getting in 2 weeks, and you've missed another session, and something screwed you up technically, and you're falling behind a bit, and but you're still in the honeymoon period of the challenge. And then you get to the point where you get, all of a sudden it's week 3 and it's downhill. Every day is a day closer towards the end of the challenge, and you get more overwhelmed, you get more frustrated, and then you pull out, right? You finish, right? And it's another failed attempt. And it's another, you feel bad and angry at yourself. You feel humiliated because, your friends will go, oh, look, there's Ed doing one of his things again, and he hasn't done it. And you feel like a failure, right? Something that's meant to help you and make you feel great, because of this arbitrary 30 days, it's made you feel like a failure. And that can't be right, right? Has anybody experienced that? Let me know look, already I can see in the chat. Yes, yep, exactly, on point, right? So it happens, right? This is what if there was another way? And it turns out, I think there is. During in fact, I think it was like the 1st of November, during my challenge where I was trying to build this business and make $10,000, Netflix released this show called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. And it is awesome. Really, really cool. And the accompanying cookbook is absolutely amazing. It's very different. It's about the fundamentals of cooking and how you can apply that. Let me give you I'm a big fan of cooking shows. Really enjoy them. And if you've watched one of my webinars before, I often use MasterChef as an example, because it always amazes me how people can be given 15 minutes, beetroot, a can of Spam, some mustard, and almost on the turn yogurt, and they can create something for the judges, right? And I was fascinated by that. But here's the thing, right? And the lesson I took out of that was constraints are good, because they force you to deliver. You have to deliver and you have to play it up. And that's one of the fascinating things about that. But you know what? I may have got the wrong lesson out of this, because what this particular documentary really highlighted and showed me was that if you have a core understanding of the fundamental properties of salt, fat, acid, and heat, that will give you the underlying grounding to have a look at a pantry of ingredients and go, right, I can make something up here and I don't need a recipe to do it, right? That's great, right? Fantastic, right? Woof, fantastic. That's as long as you've got all the experience of being a chef. And some would argue that when it comes to building businesses and marketing, I'm a chef, right? I'm somebody who can look at bunches of things and go, okay, right, I see what's going on here. That's a traffic thing. That's a conversion thing. put it all together, see what I've got, and make something happen. What happens when you're just starting out, when you are beginning? So when we're still talking cooking right now. So when you are first starting out cooking and you need to cook something, what do you do? Let us know in the chat. Recipe, Anthony. Correcto mundo. Read recipes, right? You have, right, you get ingredients and you get a recipe. Spot on. That's what you do, right? So here's the thing. Let's where are we? Let me just flick this for a second and talk to you directly. But here's the thing. If I gave you this recipe for the first time, and the author, the chef, the person who created it, said to you, okay, it's going to take you 30 minutes, right? You've 30 minutes. And then before you start, they say you've only got 15 minutes. Even though the recipe takes 30 minutes, what happens? Right? It's a disaster. It's a disaster, right? It's crazy. Why did this not occur to me? Because here's the thing. Okay, let's take it out of the world of cooking and let's bring it back into what we're trying to do here, building a business. If building a business takes a certain fundamental amount of time, and then I put this arbitrary time box around it, by definition, and when you're starting out, when you're first starting out, when you're still trying to understand each of the elements of the recipe, that is a, dare I say it, pardon the pun, a recipe for disaster. That makes no sense. Hillary, recipes always take longer than the book says. Yet we're putting this arbitrary time box of 30 days or weeks, or many of you have done 6-week courses where you've done 6 weeks. I've presented many 6-week courses to you. So this was fascinating to me. And I thought, well, why don't we have recipes? And we sort of do have recipes, but because I was doing this challenge at the same time, right, something happened. Exhibit A, this very fancy gold notebook that Ben Simkin gave me from the mastermind. It's very, very, very nice. So what I did, usually I just throw out my tickets. My tickets, by the way, represent, so here, I'll show you. Right, so here's a page, right? So the tickets, I feel like Fu was here. The tickets are each one of these is a ticket, it's a post-it note, and they basically represent a 50-minute period of time. So each ticket is 50 minutes, okay? Oof. Right, so each one is 50 minutes, okay? And so for the first time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to save these tickets because who knows what will happen if I manage to make $10,000 starting from complete scratch with no list, no money, no nothing. The way I got money for ads, by the way, was I had a couple of guitar amps that I don't use anymore, and I sold them on Gumtree, didn't get assaulted in a parking lot of a local McDonald's, and managed to raise $1,000. Right, so here we go. Right, so guess what? Turns out there are 60, as of just before the webinar last night, there were 68 tickets here. So just to round things up and to make it easy, to, as of just before this recording, make $9,800, it took me 68 tickets, right, which roughly translates into 68 hours. Now, I want you to do some math for a second. Just think, let this sink in for a second. Right, if I had 4 weeks and a little bit to do this, And I was only working 9 to 5, right, on this project. I wasn't, and indeed, I was sick with the flu the first week. There was the Melbourne Cup in Australia. In Melbourne, we have this holiday for a horse race. We obviously haven't had enough bad things happen here. And, you know, so even if I spent 40 hours a week on this project, which you could think if you were, you know, if you were free to work full time on this and you weren't a lazy bum like I am, that's 160 hours. I worked 68 to develop this result. 68. But then I thought, hang on, this is a recipe, right? So now here's what I want you to think of. And this, I suspect, might be a little aha moment for you. Let's just say, and I know you've got questions, and trust me, I have answers just coming up with it. But let's just say you understood what those 68 tickets were. So you too could do it in 68 hours. What, just based on how long you are able to commit to creating a new business, how long would it take you? Right? How many hour sessions can you do in a week? And then divide that into 68. Tell me how many weeks. I'm going to have a little bit of sip of water, do the calculation and pop it in the chat window. So we've got a couple coming through there. 4 to 5 weeks. Is that 54 to 55 weeks? 11? 20 weeks? 30-ish weeks? Simon has my approach to maths. Oh no, 30-ish weeks. I see there, Simon. 34? Right, yeah, if you can do 2 hours a week. 12-ish weeks. Now, here's the thing. At the end of a recipe, right, when you cook a recipe for the first time, you have something, right? It may not look like, you know, the beautifully photographed, you know, recipe is, but if you've got a certain verified, tested recipe, then it may not look beautiful, but it may taste well enough for you to attempt it again, and your family goes, oh, those scones were rather nice. Should try those again. Now, they don't look exactly beautifully. They may be a little flopped over and stuff, but they look okay. Okay, we'll do that. Well, look at this. All of these weeks. How are you going to do this in 30 days? Right? Because there's this arbitrary time box. But think about this. It's like 68 bottles of beer on the wall. 68 bottles of beer. Knock one down, pass it around. 67 bottles of beer. You can't stop, right? Your only thing that you need to focus on is your next ticket, the next part of the recipe. Okay? That's all you need to do. But wait, there's more. Okay, so now I'm going to do this at random, okay? So I'm not going to look, right? Totally at random. Right, I'm just going to pick a... Yeah, I've got to keep the page open this time because I forgot where I put my last one. Okay, this is a good one. Pimp Instagram profile. In other words, fill it out properly. That's just my language. And should it be Instagram for business? That was a ticket. Okay, that is a ticket. Let me ask you something. Okay, just right now, based on one being, I have no clue what the heck that is talking about. I've got no clue whatsoever what that ticket is. It may as well be written in Martian, through to 10. Yeah, I know exactly what that means. I know exactly what to do to optimize an Instagram profile and whether an Instagram profile should be an Instagram for business profile. Okay, in the chat right now, give us a rating 1 to 10 to your level of certainty of being able to do this ticket. Here we go. We've got some 1s, we've got some 5s, we've got some 7s, we've got some 8s, we've got some 9s, we've got some 2s and 3s, right? Your level of certainty goes up or down based on this particular ticket at random. Welton Hong, you're a hard taskmaster. Okay. Here's the deal. Let's go back into the cooking land. In cooking land, if you were reading through the recipe and you come up to blanch the cabbages, what the heck is blanch the cabbages? I have no idea what blanch the cabbages is. No clue at all. So what do you do when you come across something in a recipe? How do you solve it? Let us know in the chat. So if you didn't know what blanch the cabbages was, how would you figure out? Tempering chocolate. Oh, that's a favorite. Why does the chocolate have to be tempered? What do you do? What do you do in a recipe? You Google it. Google it. Google, YouTube, Google, ask the wife, Google it, or YouTube. Exactly, right? Here's the thing. Do you go off and enroll yourself in a 30-week culinary course and do the entire culinary course just to discover how to blanch the cabbage? No. Right? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any... Why would you do that? Pardon me. All you need to do is just go, okay, I'm going to figure out how to blanch the cabbage. Then I go off Google or YouTube, watch, they're blanching the cabbages. Right, you run water through it. Okay, run water through it. Next, what's the next part of the recipe? Yet why don't we do this with our business creation? We don't do it. We either go through and we try to read through the whole course, hoping that at some point, whatever that thing that I read and I just sort of skipped over will make sense at some point, aka ruining the entire... Ramsey, where are you? Tad, hold that thought. Have you been looking ahead? Right? You look through, you don't just go look for blanch the cabbage. Or another thing that you do is, bugger this. And not only do you throw all the ingredients out, but you take all your pots and pans and you take them out the back and set fire to them and then roll the mower over backwards and forwards. But we don't do that with our recipes. We go, okay, we've got to figure out what blanch the cabbage is. Okay, let's figure it out. Let's look it up and then figure it out. And then you try it. Wow. There's something in that for all of us, don't you think? Something in that for all of us. So, where did I put my ticket? Oh no, I've lost one of my precious 68 tickets. Where did I put it? Oh no, I put it back in the right spot. Phew. So, here's the thing. There is a French concept in cooking called mise en place. I know I've completely screwed that up. Somebody in the chat wants to actually type that in, knows what I'm talking about. Mise en place. Everything in its place. They prepare the vegetables. They get everything ready for the cooking, right? Thank you, Chris. There you go, Hillary. Everybody, if you're wondering what French terminology I just completely abused, chucked in the corner, and then set on fire, that's what it was. Mise en place. Right? That is everything in its place. Right? And that is that's where you chop up the onions. Right? That's what we need to do. Don't argue with me, Hillary. about what it actually means, whether it's put in place or everything in its place. Don't argue with me over French, because you're probably right. I don't know. You're not here for language translations, but there's a reason I love Ratatouille. Exactly, right? Who knew you could learn more about creating a business with salt, fat, acid, heat, and Ratatouille than you could in actual business training? So here's the interesting thing, right? What if you had a recipe, right, and you're looking at the recipe and you come across the note equivalent of, so that Instagram, how to optimize an Instagram profile. What would you do, right? What would you do if you didn't know, now having just hopefully heard this lesson, how would you go about it now? Right? Would you do one of the things you've always done, or would you Google it? Or YouTube? Because this is what I was doing the whole time. I was Googling and YouTube all bits and parts of Instagram, right? On Instagram, because I didn't know how to use Instagram. Instagram was totally new to me. I knew how to use it as a civilian, right? And add photos and stuff. But I do that. Even when you think about it, even recipes well, you always pre-prepare all the ingredients. And when I thought about my 30-day challenge, I was doing my mise en place. I'll keep saying it. I can't wait till the Europeans wake up and then they'll really go off, right? And figure out what I need to do, right? And I was doing that, and I was preparing. I was saying, okay, traffic. What do I need to learn about traffic in Instagram? Right? I was preparing all of these things before I even started. So, this way, now, if you think about it, if you had the recipe, right, and you think about it, you set the pace, right? You set the pace, the speed that you can do the tickets. Plus, you yourself can judge with these individual tickets your level of certainty in advance. So instead of barreling in blind, you can go, you know what? I have to learn how to do an Instagram profile. So I better understand. I better pre-prepare and figure out how to blanch the cabbage. Doesn't that make sense? Mise en place, or plus pronunciation. There you go. Don't come to me for any sort of pronunciation lessons, for goodness sake. I still call Kanban, because I'm from Australia. I'm going to have a sip of water. I'm going to stop for a second. I want to hear your insights. What have been your ahas so far? Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why I'm looking over here, I've got a second computer set up with the chat and stuff. So that's pretty reasonable cook. Just need to transfer the skill. It's one of those things you kind of know, but forget it until it's actually said. Rethinking the 30-day approach. It's a giant aha. You've touched on big ones for me. This was, wow, they're all coming thick and fast now. The old step-by-step is too linear. 68 steps to a real biz. Do that now, getting organized. It's actually going to take longer than 30 days. I got that one. I need to check Netflix more often. Very good, Tom. It's hilarious. It's all about the tickets, not the speed. End-to-end planning with a purpose. Going at my own pace means I don't fall by the wayside. 68 sticky notes on the canned plan. I like canned plan. On the Kanban, exactly. Everyone has different levels of understanding. Love the organising tickets in the book. I've kept mine in an unorganised envelope. Now, I normally wouldn't do that as a high quick start, but I'm so glad I did in this particular case, because that's when it hit me that why isn't it like cooking? There are so many things that are, you put in the time, it's absolutely replicable, like ballet, guitar playing, any sort of musical instrument, cooking, any number of things. Yet when it comes to business and building a business, somehow we throw all these rules out the window. So Sharon says, so you aren't really counting research in your time to do the plan? Oh, contraire. I've got plenty of research notes in here. It's just researching the right things, right? It's being very specific. I had heaps, 10 minutes research on best Instagram, design assumption experiments. But there's something way more important than, I did one very specific, thank you for the segue, Sharon. I did one very, very specific form of research this time, which I think, again, is a game changer, and I will never not teach this again. Okay, would you be interested in finding out what that piece of research was? Oh, you do? It's a nice day outside. Okay. In the field, the end of guessing. A lot of the research that we do, to me, research is one of the great potential landmines of starting and building a business, because we want to do it, right? Because we have this very big fear of imposter syndrome or expert syndrome, where we don't feel that we can provide a product or a service to a marketplace because we perceive that we need to be an expert. And this is not this is a subject for I can do a whole other webinar and lecture on that topic. I'm not really going to go into that today, but I've realized what the most efficient, effective, possible research that there is, right? And it's getting in the field, speaking to people, right? And what was fantastic is, because I had to, when I was going to this Instagram market, I knew enough to know I don't know what people are, and there are plenty of people on the call here who are from this research, so thank you very much for coming along, and hopefully you'll see why I did it and understand why I did it, and I've got some really cool insights for you coming up as well. By going into the field, I was able to split, because here's the thing, as long as you speak to about 5 people with some very targeted, almost magician-like questions, right, you can get all the research you need, right, to be able to enter a market with confidence. And you need to do that by conducting client problem interviews. What are they, I hear you ask? Well, funny you should mention that. Let's bring up this slideshow again so you can see this. This book is called Running Lean by Ash Mariah. And Ash very brilliantly, in fact, page 87 of said book, created a script which you could use to do these customer interviews when you absolutely know nothing, and it's better to know nothing about that particular market or assume anything about this particular market. So what happened was the way I did it, and I'm going to show you this live in a second, I'll show you the process of how I did it for another thing. So I'm actually going to show you in just a minute how I actually did this, but I just want to tell the story first. And what I did was I went on Instagram and I targeted people on Instagram who loved Instagram and were interested in creating a business. Okay, so that was the target market that I was looking for. All right, and what I needed to do was I needed to speak to these people and conduct the interview. Now I modified it a little bit from what Ash said, just to just for a bit of color and stuff, but the core, the questions and stuff, I did not change an iota. And what's so magnificent about these questions is that they are, right, you don't have to be any sort of expert at all. You're just asking the questions and recording the responses. And when you don't understand anything, just, hey, can you tell me more about that? Wow, that's interesting, right? I had no clue, right? So no clue, zero clue. So I advertised, I put on the calendar appointment on my profile, and they clicked through, and I spoke to 5 people, and it was a game changer. And let me tell you why. And I'm going to do a little exercise. I noticed a couple of you who were on from have been onto the other webinars, and thank you for coming. Glad you thought that was so useful that you've come on again. But please don't spoil this for everybody else, okay? So for everybody else that's on here, what do you think, the number one problem for people who are interested in starting a business and they potentially think Instagram might be a good idea? What do you think that is? Well, I take a sip. G'day, Melissa. You're going to love the results of this. By the way, you can't say what you said. Getting leads, audience, what to sell, how to get followers, how to get an audience, all things, all fabulous suggestions. An opinion not based on research. All of these are great, right? These are all great, right? Leads, right? These are all great things. Exactly what I would have assumed. Guess what? Every single person I interviewed had this problem. And the problem was Instagram ugly and Instagram beautiful. They assumed that to use Instagram, they had to have perfect lunches, perfect makeup, perfect experiences. You know, they had to be on their boat, they had to be in their Lambo, they had to be, to make any sort of business work, they had to have these constantly beautiful Instagram beautiful photos. So I made it my mission to, as I was doing this project, to be Instagram ugly. Now, I know, right, when you are as gifted as I am when it comes to a pure animal magnetism, right? I mean, men, ladies, everybody, whatever your gender, you know, I speak to you. I know that. I've been dealing with that all my life. It's a handicap. Most of you don't realize that, you know, this level of beauty and sexiness can really be a handicap. I just hope you know that I struggle with it each and every day. Hashtag sarcasm. Right? Definite sarcasm. All right. So it was very important to me as I was doing this Instagram test to realize that I had this theory, you know, and this was a theory based on my experience, which is if I could create useful content, interesting content, cool little tips, right? If I could do all of those, then it didn't matter whether my photos were good looking or not, right? It mattered far more that it was interesting information that communicated interesting tidbits to my marketplace. So based on that research, I came up with this whole Instagram ugly concept, right? Because that was like for people who really know Instagram, that was the term. And I had no idea, because of course I had no idea. You know, the camera loves me. You know, I can't take a bad photo, as you'll soon see. And so, you know, I just didn't understand that other people had this problem. I just thought it was naturally, you know, anyway, I'll stop. You get the idea, right? That was fascinating. And I would have, if I had just got all of this, you know, if I had just got all of this put together, then I would have, you know, I would have missed completely 100% missed the major problem, right? The major problem with the market. And all 5 people said to me, so major insight is that from now on, anything that I ever do will involve you talking to the market. And I know for some people, but you can do this on the phone, you can do this in Zoom. It's not surveys. You have to talk to people. And I know that may make you feel uncomfortable because let's face it, you have to talk with other human beings. Yuck. It's making me it's making me cough. Just think about it. But just to speak to 5 people to understand your market. And remember, here's the thing. If I'd asked, what if I'd got, thank goodness I was doing the challenge and I was constrained to use the Instagram to find Instagram people who love Instagram, right, who are interested in building a business. Thank goodness I was constrained to do that and I wasn't able to ask you guys, because my normal approach would be to ask all of you. And with the greatest of love, that would have been a massive mistake because you all came up with stuff that I thought was great, right? You all did in the chat. Thought it was great, but it was wrong. It was nowhere near the number one. So do you think, let's see in the chat, do you think you could summon up the, I was constrained to using Instagram. You don't have to just use Instagram if you're more comfortable with Facebook or Google or YouTube. Or you've already got an email list of people in your target market, because remember, I had to start from absolute scratch. Do you think it would make sense to, conduct these interviews? What do you reckon? Let me know in the chat. Simon, I can safely say no, given that it's 1 minute. Brilliant. Yes, totally. See, I've been so thankful for having to do this challenge, because it really did, if I hadn't been thrown into a situation where I really knew nothing about and I was intensely constrained, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I want to give you some Instagram insights that I learned specifically on Instagram, and it also tie a bunch of the stuff I was talking about with these interviews together. So one of the things I want to do here is just, let me turn this off for a second, and then I'm getting better at this. I'm getting quicker. Mirroring, and then mirror here, start mirroring. Boom shakalaka. Okay. me. Hopefully in a second you can see my Instagram. Oh, there's Brett Stark. Oh, puppies. Oh, it's Frank's dog. Yeah, some cool Yeezys. Okay, there is my Instagram. Okay. So these are people that I follow and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So how did I go about, as I say, just before I checked, almost a couple of $100 short of $10,000. How'd I do it? Just using Instagram. The secret was in the profile. Okay, so when you've heard me talk about the profile, and first of all, before I do anything, I want you to have a good look at these numbers. I've only had 350 profile visits in the last 7 days. They're not big numbers. I've only got 1,816 followers. That's not big numbers either, right? Because I was only starting 30 days ago, right? Nothing crazy going on here, right? So, but if you look in the profile underneath my photo there, you'll see that you've got 4 lines of text and you can add in one link, right? So I'm building a $10,000 a month business in 30 days using this crazy Japanese method. Click the link to access for free, makeyourfirstdollar.com free course. Now, if I click this, boom, I created this opt-in form. By the way, this is a completely stock standard ClickFunnels opt-in page. See this course cover? That was a standard course cover. I even pinched half of the mind blowing. I love that. So I pinched that and the unleashing part, and I just changed whatever it was to productivity, right? And just added in the copy and put this together. And by the way, the opt-in rate still is 85% for this particular opt-in rate. It's fantastic. And more importantly, of those 350 profile visits, 15%, literally 15% of them click on that link in the profile. So how did I get people to visit? You don't know what you don't know. Yeah, it's exactly right. And there you can see some of my hands. See, look at. Okay, so there is some man candy shots in here. True. I just did that for my daughters. You could, you can see. Actually, did they comment? Oh yeah, look. See, there's my youngest Annabelle. Dad. Yeah, you got to have some fun. I feel like it's my job to cause them misery. All right. Oh, that was a post. Look at that. Your screen time was down 12% last week for an average of 7 hours and 52 minutes. You want to know where you get time to build your business? Imagine if that's 7 tickets, almost 8 tickets in screen time on my phone. Shameful. Anywho, here's what I did, right? You ready? So I would take a post. Like here was a cool post, showing my stats while I was doing this project, right? So I was looking at website clicks and all that sort of thing, right? Okay, you ready for this? Right, I simply clicked on the promote button. Up pop this is. What's my goal? More profile visits, because I know 15% of people who visit my profile will click on, and 80 to 90% of those people, virtually every single person, will opt in from that course. That's what has been so fantastic. So more profile visits is what I want to do. I want to click next. This is all I did. Now, by the way, those of you who've been around a long time, well, will know what I'm talking about. Anytime Google or Facebook or YouTube or anybody else says, hey, let us choose an audience for you, you run for the hills, right? Now, the best people in the business know that AI advertising and market selection is far superior to anything you can do as a human being, right? And it's all about making sure they get the right type of people, right? You have to feed the right type of people. And indeed, I did, you can see some of my audiences there that I did cross-testing on, like older marketers who love Frank. I'll leave that to your own devices. Digital marketing, USA, AU, Canada, New Zealand, right? People who are interested in that, and automatic beat it 9 times out of 10. Right, I click next. You set your spend. I did $5 daily spends, and typically I would do for 3 days. And you can see I'm going to get a reach of somewhere between 250 to 600. I click next, and off I go to the races. Okay, why not? Let's start a campaign while we're here. May as well. So there you go. I've just submitted a promotion, which is cool. Okay, done. So this is that's what I did. And by the way, all I did when I was, actually, let me find you the post. It'll be here in the tick, down, down, down. See, and I documented this whole process. I did a podcast and everything else, right? So I documented everything. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. So when I was getting people to click on my profile, right, I just said, can you help? Are you starting a business? Want to use Instagram to do it? That was the thing. And then I said, I'd like to interview you for 20 minutes to help me understand your needs and help me design, I even spelled it wrong, shocker, a new process I'm developing. If you're starting in the next month, select my profile and click the book button to get a time. I only have 5 slots available at the moment. There we go. That was the process. That was what I did to get, as of just before I started, about $200 short of my $10,000 goal, with completely new people, new list, new ads, new everything, right? So that's effectively what I did. So as an Instagram, and final, let me give you the tail of the tape, the final ad stats. Here they are. The ad spend, in the end, I spent $162.94. I've still got approximately $750 left in my budget because I remember I sold a couple of things. I sold a couple of guitar amps to raise that. I collected 259 emails. That's not, think about, when was the last time you collected 259 emails? In not a 30-day period, it was only a 14-day period, because obviously I didn't even know how to do any of this stuff, right, before the process, right? And look at that, cost per lead, 63 cents, right? Cost per lead is 63 cents. And let me tell you, right, in my other areas, you know, when I was allowed to do things like advertise on Facebook and YouTube and stuff, typically I would pay $3 a lead very, very happily, right? I would happily do that every day of the week and twice on Sundays to do that. All right. So let's have a look here. Okay, so let me just bring back the slides. So I was fascinated by that, and I think, you know, I think that the ability to, if you think about what we've talked about, you know, you think about, you know, what we did to, oh, there we are, I had it on the actual slide. I actually found the actual Post-it note. You know, could you build a business in 68 hours? Is that something that you could do? Particularly, now, I just want you to remember something it's super duper important. I had two hands tied behind my back, right? I had never used Instagram for lead generation, never used Instagram for profile. I had to learn everything. In my notes, in those 68 hours, was a lot of notes where I was learn this, figure out this. Remember, I was learning to blanch the cabbage, right? So that was what I was trying to do, right? So I had two hands tied behind my back. You don't. Many of you on this call know how to do, say, Facebook ads or YouTube ads. So you could substitute in Instagram for something else. You know, if you are, this is where the salt, fat, acid, heat comes into it again, right? If traffic is our internet marketing equivalent of acid, right, you can use different, what happens when you use lime as opposed to using lemon as your acid, or using citrus as your acid, right? What does that do to the dish? It gives slightly different orientation, slightly different flavor profiles, etc., etc. Same with this business, right? Same with this. And that is fascinating to me. Well, let me tell you what the X factor is, right? Let me tell you what the X factor is. Ticket certainty, right? The certainty that you have in your tickets will absolutely dictate whether you could do a 68-hour project or not. That I'm 100% convinced. I'm now also 100% convinced, I hope I have convinced you, I hope I've convinced you that rather than do it in all the different ways, it's not your fault you've been taught to do this way. When you studied at school, what were you meant to do? Learn, notes, review, and then finally a test. Well, guess what? There are no degrees here, right? There are no degrees here, right? This is about making some money, building a business, right? So ticket certainty to me is the X factor, right? And now we've got a process for increasing the level of certainty on each ticket. So if you got the recipe and did that, that would make a lot of sense, I reckon. So funny you should mention the recipe. And this, by the way, alert, 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 I want to offer you something. I want to, based on my findings and my results, I want to put together an offer for you, and it's called the recipe. And the recipe is taking all of the lessons that I learned through this challenge and this completely new way of operating. What if we built our business like we cooked our first recipe, and we had a recipe and we had tickets and we knew what to do with it and we knew how to make our tickets more certain, is what I've done. Now, to save you some time so you can hang up right now, is this isn't for everybody, right? You need to have at least 2 hours a week, right? Because if you could design a 68 ticket recipe, then that's going to take you half a year to do, right? And if you can't find 2 hours, then you've got to ask, is this just a hobby for you? Or are you serious about doing pro? Now, look, I play golf, right? I play like 4 times a year. I suck. I'm terrible, but I enjoy it. I have a bit of fun. It's more about catching up with some friends. But I don't for a second think I'm a professional golfer. And I realize, why haven't I improved? Why haven't I got my handicap below 30? Oh, you don't practice, right? So the other thing that you've got to absolutely make certain of is 2019, a year that you are finally going to go pro. Then the third thing, and this might be the hardest thing of all, is you have to be open to the fact that you have strengths. Because I did cheat. There is no question that I cheat. Not cheat as in the bad sense of cheating. It's just that I built this business based on my strengths. I had my money taken away from me. I had my contacts and list and everything taken away from me. I was not lobotomized. And the reality is, and I will prove it to you, that every single one of you has strengths and market affiliations, if you will, that will mean that, and we've got to make sure that the market makes money. For years I've said, and you could quote back at me, that I said, every market is a market. And I absolutely 100% stand by that. But here's the thing. Are you going to make a croquembouche as your first ever recipe? Or do you think you might try scramble some eggs first and create some scrambled eggs? Why not? Let's do something that is easy. I want it to be as easy as possible for you to be able to get the result, right? So would you be happy? I'd be interested. Would be happy if you spent your time doing that and you created $1,000 a month business. You did only a tenth as well as I did with the recipe. You did the equivalent of just making sure the scone was, it was vaguely, not really recognizable as a scone, but it tasted like a scone. How does that sound? Just let me know in the chat. As my screen goes off. Bad timing. Excellent. That's great. Good. Okay, so here's what I built it to do. So the recipe is about smashing deadline overwhelm, right? So think about it. Each of you have your own lives, your own obligations. My plan is to use the time between now and the end of the year for mise en place. Okay, so we're going to prepare our recipe and we're going to get all the ingredients in the place. We're going to get all our levels of certainty up for our tickets before we start cooking in January. Why? Because it's obvious. January is entrepreneur crack cocaine month. It's true. Every single one of you. New year, new you. It's like just laying out the lines. I shouldn't use drug references. Drugs are bad. It's like laying out the drugs for entrepreneurs. January is our month. You know it to be true, right? So wouldn't it be cool to go in January instead of just going, it's January 1. What am I going to do? I know I've got energy. I've got enthusiasm. I've got any of these sorts of things. Let's go. Let's do it. Woohoo. And you're not quite sure. Imagine if you had done all your mise en place. You'd prepared your ingredients properly. You'd got the right, you understood, okay, yeah, I know what blanch the cabbage is now. I figure that out. I can't stop saying blanch the cabbage. It just rolls off the tongue. Blanch the cabbage. It's just fantastic. The next big issue for most people is to smash expert syndrome. And I can honestly say that with this process, being an expert is almost a disadvantage. I still want you to use your expertise. Don't take me literally at that point. But I do want to, because that's part of the cheating part. Because if you've got an expertise in an area or in a market, that's what we're going to utilize to get you to money as fast as humanly possible, right? That's the key thing, which is a real change in approach for what I would normally do. And the most important thing, the third killer, is to smash uncertainty, right? Because for you high fact finders, and I talk about fact finders and quick starts, you may be wondering what I'm talking about. It's to do with a test called the Colby test. And that's neither here nor there. But what's interesting is that there are different types of entrepreneurs. We're all great entrepreneurs, but we do things very differently. And one of the elements of high fact finder entrepreneurs is they really want to understand what they're doing before they do it. Okay. And that can be really great at times. And sometimes it can be a yoke around their neck. And I think this is the perfect compromise. I suspect. You be the judge. So it's designed, the recipe, to build a business as fast as you can. And based on the customer interviews, create a product your market will crave. And most importantly, it's to fit in with your lifestyle, right? Because we're building the business. You don't need to build a business that's going to be a 60-hour-a-week business. We right, Welton? Right? We don't want to do that. We want to build a business that fits in with our obligations and lifestyle and maybe pays for quite a few of them. So let's talk about the recipe components, and it gives me an opportunity to use my new pen. So, could it be used for a fundraiser for a nonprofit? Yeah, totally. I mean, it's still selling. The fact that it's a fundraiser means that it's absolutely still selling. So let's have a look. What are the components here? As the cat wants to be fed. This is bad news. I'm going to be, the door may be smashed down by my cat. So first thing, and let me just refer to, my apologies, but I'm going to refer to a couple of notes so I don't forget anything, okay? So the first thing is the ticket, is the ticket builder. Because here's the thing. So you're thinking, maybe some of you are thinking, oh, Ed's just going to hand over his recipe for us. No, I can't do that. I'd love to do that. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could do that? But I can't. Because here's the thing. For example, what I'm doing right now, right, this process, this webinar thing, some of you are going, oh, this is cool. I'd love to do that. But there are some of you who are going, I'd rather slam one of my genitalia in a car door than do what Ed's doing right now, which is totally cool because you've got your own ways. You might do a long form sales letter or a podcast or a script and slides and stuff. You wouldn't do it live, YOLO style, like I am, right? So we need to build the tickets. We need to customize them for you. Now, the good news is I know how to do that, funnily enough, because, and thank you, I noticed there's a few Academy members here, with my work with people in the Academy, which is my day job, I know how to do that. I know what works for different types of entrepreneurs. So we need to adjust the recipe because some of you are lemon people, some of you are lime people, and you need that to get the result that you need. You're going to need to use a different type of acid, or maybe we're going to use a different type of, some of you are going to use the ghee for the fat, and some of us are going to use butter and coconut oil, and some of us are going to use olive oil. See how this works? I love this cooking metaphor. I'm so excited by it. I hope it, I'll get your feedback, but let me know as I'm talking about this in the chat. Does this make sense? Does this make sense to you? I'm really hoping it does. So we've got the ticket builder. Okay. So that's our first thing. So we're going to spend the second part of the process doing the ticket building. Then, the first part and the most important part is the Ikagi market selection. Ikagi is a Japanese philosophy, methodology, if you like, about, it could be loosely translated. I'd love to say it's following your bliss, but it's not, right? It's very much more down to earth than that. But remember I said we have to find a market. We have to select something which identifies your strengths, because there are people on this webinar right now, I know, who are thinking, I don't have any strengths, which is not true, right? That's absolute and total rubbish. Every single one of you has, and we have this conversation on the academy sometimes. We just need to identify them, right? We need to know that the market you have strengths in that market, which gives you an unfair advantage. Then we need to make sure there's obvious money making going on, and we need to, so we need to make sure that your strengths intersect with money being made, right? Absolutely crucial when we're choosing this. And it's something that, is that you love, right? Something that is positive and you can be proud of, right? You'll be proud of the work in that market. So it's very important. Bacon fat, that is funny. That is brilliant. So we've got the ticket builder, we've got the market selection, and the third component is, as I try to look at my notes, is the ticket master. So as your head chef, what we're going to do during the week is you're going to come to me in live sessions and you're going to say, hey, Ed, how can I increase the certainty on this ticket? And I'll tell you, I might say, hey, here's a YouTube video based on my experience and my experience of day-to-day coaching people. We will do, and this is where the Gordon Ramsay, I will be your pleasant Gordon Ramsay to your recipe. I will slam 2 pieces of bread either side of your ears and say, what are you? I'm a sandwich. What type of sandwich? You're an idiot sandwich. One of my favorite things. I won't do that. I'm far more pleasant and less sweary. But I will be Gordon Ramsay for your recipe to make sure that you hit January absolutely fired up and ready to go. Now, I haven't, like all closing people, said, oh, this is worth this and this is worth this. You know what something like this is worth. I'll tell you that when I release this to the general public, which I will be doing, it will be $497. Okay, so, and I think that is well worth it. And of course, you've got your guarantee, right? So, and if you've got 21 days, you can look at it. If it doesn't make sense to you, or you don't think it's going to work for you, that's fine. Just let us know. And of course, you will get a refund. No questions asked. That's, as long as you give it a try, go for it, right? It's not for everybody, as I said. All right. But because this is the first time I'm doing it, and I need testimonials, right? I need testimonials. So I want to offer you guys a founder offer, right? Something that's frankly insane. Okay. So instead of $497, I want to make it $97. What's the catch, you say? Well, there is a catch. Of course there's a catch. One-off payment of $97. It's not a nasty catch. Here's the deal, right? For you to get it access at this price, you're agreeing to give, as long as it works. Now, if it doesn't work, please, I don't expect you to make up a testimonial. But if it works for you, if this process works for you, I want a testimonial from you. Right? I want recipes that say, I followed the recipe and I made X. Okay, does that sound fair? Right? That's the condition. right? So you agree to give me a testimonial. Oh, I've been talking about January a lot. And I want to make sure you give me testimonials. So guess what? I am going to coach you and give you a month's access to the Academy for January. Remember, that's Entrepreneurial Crack Cocaine Month, when all entrepreneurs are at the peak of their biorhythm. Okay, so you get 1 month's coaching in the Academy. So you'll be executing the first stages of your recipe. And by the way, I did I broke my record during this 30 days. I actually did 21 tickets. That was before that, my record was 16 tickets in a week. And I smashed my record and did 21 tickets in a week, right? Based on a combination of fear and enthusiasm. So you get 1 month coaching in the Academy, right? I think that's a fair deal, right? One more thing. me. For the first 20 who sign on, I'm going to give you not 1 month, but I'm going to give you 2 months in the Academy. I think that is a fair deal. So you ask, where can I sign on? I'm hoping that's what you're asking. Let me bring it up for you. Here we go. Let's publish that. And also, go back here as well. You can point your browser at make.yourfirstdollar.com/order, and that will take you, funnily enough, to the order page. Funny how that works. Hopefully, that is what it does, right? And if I just I better show you what that looks like so you can see. So there you can see you've got your contact details, you put in your billing address. Some people were saying there was a problem. Yeah, see, the state, province, and the country that's a weird thing, which I forgot to fix. It works fine with the credit cards for some reason. That was because I'm using ClickFunnels. Right, I put this together as just a standard ClickFunnels funnel. But what's awesome is it mentions the fact that you get the Akagi Market Strength Selection, which is a $297 value, a personalized 10K business Kanban, I should say, plan, $497. The Ticket Shaper with me, Ed, Gordon, Ramsay, Dale. Bonus one, you get coached by me in the Academy in January. So when you're actually executing your recipe, I will be there looking over the kitchen to give you my viewpoints. What type of sandwich are you? And also, I'll be giving you the original Kanban for Entrepreneurs course as well, right? So if you want to get started really super quickly, you can at least familiarize yourself with all of our terminology, tickets and done columns and CFTs and all of those sorts of things. And if you see bonus 3 there appearing, you are in the top 20 and you get an extra month of the Academy if you buy right now. And that is a legit, like it's $297 a month to be coached in the Academy. So that's a very legit thing. So that is fantastic. So that is the offer. Let me bring back the URL. And now, if you've got questions or anything that if you've got questions about the program or any of the insights that I delivered, I'd also love to hear from you. Oh, fantastic, Cherie. That's fantastic. C's in. That's brilliant. Magnificent. That's awesome. Wow, look at that. It's counting down. That's super. Thank you so much. Now, let me share this URL. So you've got the URL. And if you've got questions, happy to take them in the chat. Okay, when does the program start? Great question. So you'll be getting it once you signed up. In a few minutes' time, you'll be getting an email that'll outline all of this. But we're actually going to start the Monday after Thanksgiving because there's a lot of people in the United States. Next week is a complete and utter write-off. So I don't want you stressing over. I want you to enjoy your Thanksgiving break. And so we're going to start the Monday after. And the idea is to use all the time between then and Christmas, the holidays, to do our mise en place, right? To do our prep. So we're going to customize our recipes. We're going to identify all the places where we lack certainty, and we're going to go and find that certainty. So come January 1, you'll all be introduced into the academy and we'll actually execute on our plans in January. And you execute at your own pace. If you can do 3 tickets a week, you do 3 tickets. But here's the beauty. If it ends up your plan is a 68 ticket plan, then if you do 3 tickets that week, guess what? You're 3 tickets closer to money, right? It's awesome. And then if you happen to do a week where you do 15 tickets, wow, all of a sudden you're down to 40 tickets, right? Do you see how this works? It's really phenomenal. And by the way, remember, my recipe is a bit padded because there were so many things that I had to learn to do, right? So there was a hell of a lot of research, and that might be you. Oh, Linda just signed up. That's fantastic. Thank you. Are there certain markets that are more favorable to target using Instagram? Yes, I'm pretty sure that is the case. In fact, I did some research on that, which is unfortunately not in front of me, but there are definitely some markets that are particularly fantastic for Instagram. But Instagram is the acid in our recipe, right? If say you're already very accomplished and comfortable with doing Facebook ads, you can do exactly the same with Facebook ads, right? If you want to be quick, right, it's the thing. Do you want to get it's up to you. Do you want to substitute in an ingredient that you are much more familiar with and you know its properties that much better? Say a YouTube, you may be really good at YouTube ads, or you may have, for goodness sake, you may already have a list of people in your chosen market. And so you can email them for interviews and cut about 15 tickets. No, I'm exaggerating. It's not 15 tickets, but it's quite a few. So that's pretty cool, right? So you can do that. Oh, thanks, Linda. That's fantastic. Yeah. So any other questions? Any questions about the program or any of the stuff that I discussed? The cutoff date. Look, I'll leave this up over the weekend for sure. Right. So it'll be up over the weekend. I'll get a replay out, and there'll be an order form that'll be available over the weekend, and then I'll finish it up on Sunday because people just can't act on deadlines. It's quite amazing. Awesome, folks. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. How does this tie in if you're already an NSA member? Well, obviously the bonus isn't that exciting to you, but that's great. This is a separate thing. We won't be doing this specifically in the academy per se, because you're all got your own plans and your own strategies and your own roadmaps. But if you want to bring this into the academy as part of your thing, go for it, 100%. But this is a separate product, very definitely. Oh, good on you, Brian. That is fantastic. Thank you for signing up. Brilliant. All right. Cool stuff. Will we need to have a ClickFunnels account? No, not at all. You'll probably need some method of collecting emails. So you will need something. But if you're more familiar with Drip, or you're more familiar with using a WordPress plugin, that's great. Keep in mind, this is another thing that's really important. I wasn't allowed to outsource. I had to do these hands. Look at these beautiful piano hands. They have not known hard work for, well, basically any time ever. But I had to do all this myself. It was horrible, right? You, for example, instead, like if you outsource, if you find a who, not a how, guess what? you can bank 4 tickets maybe for $20. So imagine that. You could knock off 50. It's like, and this is where the cooking metaphor breaks down. It's like you can high five, sub in Gordon Rand, pay Gordon, here Gordon, here's some money. I want you to prep the mashed potato. Go for it. It's like you've got a sous chef working for you, right? If you can do that, you can absolutely do that. So that is great. If anybody, I can see if anybody who's signing up right now, I will make sure you get the 2. Obviously, if you come back later, that's thing. But you still get the January, like you still get a month in January in the academy, which is cool. So that is great. William, apparently I'm told if you just leave it as the country that you're from and don't put in the state, it works fine, apparently. So sorry about that. I will get it fixed. But yeah, there you go. Because there's a thing, that's a classic example. Normally Adam Teese would have done my order form for me, right? Because he's a genius at it. I had to do it myself with my own hands, right? So you can use money if you're in the fortunate position of having more resources, you can outsource more of these tickets, right? That's a pretty cool thing. Okay, I think we have got all our questions out. So thank you very much for that. I hope you found that really valuable. I'm pretty excited about this. For those of you who signed up, thank you so much. Really looking forward to working with you. I'm particularly excited about this project because it's one thing to do it for me, but it's another thing to have all of you in your own businesses where you're making money. That's much in your own markets and your own niches for our North American friends. All right, with that, thank you very much. Can't wait to work with you all over the coming weeks. Have a great Thanksgiving next week if you're in North America, and let's do it. It's going to be fun. All right, thanks a heap, everybody. This has been awesome. Now I'm going to go to sleep, even though it's in the middle of the day. Brilliant. All right, thanks, gang. Bye-bye.